Hello, hello. Welcome back to Knoxville Nights. I am Josh Gerlach. I am here with Blake Walker, Kade Higday. We're here to recap the weekend with the Knoxville Raceway. It was round 3 for the Knoxville Championship Series. We saw Brian Brown, grabbed his career win number 67 in a 410 at Knoxville. Tasker Phillips won again in the 360. He goes 1-2 with his brother Sawyer, which was pretty cool. And then we had roles reversed. Jay Kinder got the best of Brett Moffitt after dueling with him again for the feature win in the Pro Series. So we'll talk about everything that happened in round 3, like I said, and then we'll be joined here in the back end by the POWRi 410 Outlaw Sprint League, that's a mouthful, champion, Ayrton Gennetten. Talk about his season and everything that's going to go on in 2025 with him. Before we get started, though, make sure you follow us on all the socials. We are at Knoxville Nights on Facebook and Instagram, at Knoxville Nights with no O on X, and then just search for Knoxville Nights on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. By the way, you can watch them on Spotify now, too, so you can watch us and our ugly mugs on YouTube and Spotify. And then follow me. I'm at Josh_Gerlach. Kade's at Kade Higday, and Blake is at Blake_Walker8 on X. Boys, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Blake, you want to get us started?
Yeah, man. We got Houston. All of us have Houston's up also on our side, so we're keeping an eye on Houston. So if you're watching and you see us look to our sides or whatever, or Kade looks up or Josh looks wherever, we got Houston's up. But that's what
we're not distracted at all.
No. We're going to keep things going. All right, let's jump in. So Kade technically didn't go backwards at all this week, and you finally get a good week together. You qualify 8th after going out 5th. I know you probably wanted a little bit better, but the qualifying was kind of weird tonight. The track was different. We'll talk about that in a little bit. You go from 4th to 3rd in your heat race, and you go from 8th to 7th in the A main. I know you want better, but is that a good step in the right direction considering how the season has started for you?
Yeah, absolutely. The one night that we probably should have drawn a late pill in qualifying, we draw an early number. And I thought after our flight, or our session, I guess, our group of 3 cars, we were second to Giles, and I thought that would stay pretty strong. But yeah, we got through about halfway through qualifying, and we just started dropping like a rock. And that was kind of odd, and it wasn't really disheartening, I don't think, but like, it's going to set you up a little bit worse for the A. And had they drawn an 8 invert, we'd have started on the pole and things probably would have went a lot different. But yeah, I got a decent start in the heat and just kind of got stuck. Like I wasn't really losing ground to wasn't really losing ground to Terry and Tony, but I just couldn't really make anything up either. And kind of no matter what I tried, nothing really worked or didn't work. We were just kind of one speed, I felt like. And then in the A, the first like 3 laps, it was so dusty and so many big dirt chunks flying that I couldn't even see where I was going. I was talking to a couple of people last night, and that first lap I drove into turn 3 wide open on the top and couldn't even see where I was going. So that was pretty hairy. But yeah, the track was weird. Super deceiving. That's the word I would use for it. Like the 305 race, when they first started, it looked like it was super juiced up, and we kind of set our car up for that, and we ended up pushing off, and it was like instantly slick and clear up to the fence, which was cool for me. I like running up there. But kind of the same thing. Like we got just kind of shuffled back on the start. Not even really shuffled back, but just didn't get the start I needed to, and just kind of had to regroup. And going green to checkered like that it's hard to make up ground. And we ended up passing a couple cars. I think we fell back one or 2 spots on the start, and ended up making a couple spots back and salvaging kind of what we could for the night, and rolled the car in the trailer. So that's nothing to complain about, and live to race another day.
Awesome. I think kind of pairing that with your previous week, I know the race ended poorly, but do you feel some momentum kind of rolling? This was a different car, of course, because you had to have some repairs done to the other one. Kind of feel like the program is where you would like it to be right now, or how are you feeling this early in the season?
We still have gains to make for sure. I felt like last week we made the gains we needed to, and we were I was pretty comfortable with what we had for a package, and then kind of a different different deal this week with the new car. There's quite a few things that are different that we kind of got to clean up on our end and make the car a little bit better to get to where I think we need to be as far as speed and comfortability mainly. It was, like I said, it was fun to run the top for that many laps in a row and somehow not crash. I'm pretty good at, kind of like Tasker was saying, he's got a fast car, but he likes to mess it up. I'm the same way.
That's awesome. Congrats on the run. Congrats on the top 10. And for our sake and your sake, we'll hope for more good finishes here to keep going. You're 7th in the points, so just kind of working your way up and put the first couple weeks behind you and move right along. It was a beautiful night at the Knoxville Raceway. And again, we'll touch on the track just a little bit more. We'll start with our pro sprints. Brett Moffitt came back and returned in the 17 car for Matt Allen this week. He went quick time once again. No surprise. The 17 was almost 7 or 8 quick times last year. What got me was last night I kind of changed things around. I didn't quite talk during qualifying. And he goes across the board with a 16.8. And I'm looking down and I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't usually look back at especially when the track's not cold, whatever. I don't think track record. He runs a 16.8, and I immediately jump out of my chair and I go back, and he missed it by just a tenth. Christian Bowman set the 305 track record with a 16.7, but Brett Moffitt goes a 16.8. And Kade, obviously, you've run a lot in 305. You've had pretty good runs qualifying and whatnot. I mean, engine's a big deal, obviously, but a 16.8, I mean, that tops what we saw last year. I think we saw a 16.9 last year, but a 16.8, that's ripping around Knoxville in a 305.
Yeah, that's a great lap. And honestly, in that class, the engine isn't really a big factor. I mean, they're all kind of on the same rule package, and it's all pretty much a spec motor. So whatever they have figured out between Matt Allen's qualifying efforts and Brett's in the same car, it's definitely working.
It's a question for you, because this might surprise some people, probably not in this group here, but he's not a stranger to dirt racing. You know, he's had a lot of success, obviously, as truck champion, but he's no stranger to dirt. Yes, he's kind of new to wing racing. But do you think that, especially for a 305 in qualifying, you always hear about how you got to keep your hands, really calm and not mess with the car? Do you think kind of that experience on asphalt where you're not really jerking the wheel around, that might be playing into this a little bit? I know the 17's fast, like we've talked about.
I'm sure that's part of it. I don't know. I watched him in the heat race and it looked like he was turning 17 times before he got to the corner, but I'm sure he knows in qualifying you really got to keep a stable hand, and I'm sure he's not turning the wheel that much. I didn't get to watch him in qualifying, but I'm sure he's not turning like he is in the heat race when he's up on the wheel and trying to pass race cars.
Yeah, just a random thought.
Yeah. No, it's a good thought. I mean, when they go to the super speedways, which he has had success at, he's won a truck race there. That's literally all they're told. It's just however still you can keep the wheel and whatnot. And now it's a good point you bring up. Obviously, steering wheel's a little bit different, steering and whatnot, but hopefully we can get him on here soon to talk and ask him about that, because I think it'd be a really interesting answer. Matthew Stelzer, who came into the night second in points, just 5 points behind, is going to leave at negative 191. He has issues in hot laps and does not even start. Engine issues, they pack up and headed home before the night started, and that's just how it goes, man. I mean, unfortunately, the way the point systems work, and the Pro Sprints don't race many races this year, a night like that, Jake Kinder is going to have some issues if Matthew Stelzer wants to catch back up with him.
Yeah, it just kills him. And Josh and I were standing behind my car when they pulled the wing off and we're loading it up. And I'm like, are they changing the motor? Or are they loading up? And we saw him kind of strap the car down. And I was like, you got to get a picture of that, because this is not going to happen very often.
It's a tough break for Matthew Stelzer. Did win the first race of the season, but yeah, just tough luck for him. Another rough night for Mike Mayberry, our defending champion, who, unfortunately, with the way things have started now, it does not look like he will be repeating as a champion. He gets caught with Tyler Thompson on the first lap going into turn 3. We didn't really have a replay of it. It kind of caught his tire. I think that was what we really learned from it. And Mike Mayberry, I thought he had it saved, takes a tumble, and it was just enough to destroy the front end and the right side of the car. and him and Tyler were not friends on afterwards with some texts that were shown. But just a tough break for Mike Mayberry. And, sometimes, Kade, you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield. And for Mike, some of these things haven't even been his fault, but that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles sometimes. And he's just having a rough start.
He is too, and we've kind of been, my team's been the bug more than the windshield this year too. So I kind of feel his pain, but surely it's got to turn around for him at some point. Kind of like you said though, his hopes of winning the championship are probably over with, but that just allows him to race and try to win races instead of worrying about the points every night.
Ayrton alludes to that in our conversation later too, that you could maybe see Mike rip off some wins here because he'd looked pretty good in his heat race. So the speed was there again, this past weekend. But yeah, definitely an unfortunate another weekend for him.
And what's crazy, Tyler Thompson gets caught in that. He really doesn't get a ton of damage, and the dude drives all the way back and finishes third. That's the second week in a row he's been hard charger. So clearly, Tyler Thompson and that 48 crew have found something. And I think if they can get a good start, I think they might have something because he's been coming from mid-pack as of late. I don't know Tyler Thompson personally, but boy, the dude's got it rolling and could be looking at a win here sooner or later.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if that first lap incident doesn't happen, he's got a really good shot to win that race, which surely is going to fire him up. I do know him personally, and I know that's definitely going to add fuel to the fire. And he'll definitely be even more fun to watch next week, I think.
East side of Des Moines, born and bred. Good luck. Have fun with Tyler Thompson. Brett Moffitt, it looked like it was going to be a repeat of last week, boys. It literally, you could have put the screen up and it would have been last week's race and we would have thought it was the same thing, but the track changed. Brett Moffitt ran the bottom, and I brought it up on the broadcast. He never really left the bottom last week, clearly. Never had to be behind a car. And Jay Kinder just kept trying things in the middle to the top part of the racetrack. And at one point, Brett went into turn 3, and he was about 90 degrees to the inside. I mean, he was sideways, and you could tell he just wasn't used to that. Jay Kinder goes around and grabs his 10th career pro sprint win. With the issues for Matthew Stelzer, this puts Jay Kinder in a perfect spot, especially with them that have built on consistency ever since week 1 of last year in the race for the championship. Kade, it seemed like Brett Moffitt looked like a guy who'd only been in a sprint car a couple times there late in that race, and I think he was just really caught off guard, and Jay Kinder just pounced, and Jay Kinder had a little bit more experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And once Brett, once he got up to the top behind Jay, I don't think there was any speed difference. It was just the bottom got so narrow so fast that I think it kind of caught him off guard and allowed Jay to pounce on it. And like you said, with as many laps as Jay has around there, if you mess up at all, he's gonna pounce on it every time he can.
Good race, another solid race. I think if Moffitt keeps running, you're going to see that 17 and 88 battling every single week. Devin Klein had a good run. I wish Devin Klein ran every week, man. He didn't race that second race. Man, they got speed. That's 2 podiums for him to start the season. So happy for Devin Klein. Cody Hildreth goes 14th to 8th. If you don't follow Cody Hildreth on social media, follow Cody Hildreth on Instagram. He does like little videos after qualifying and heat just to kind of give people an update on how he's feeling and whatnot. So really cool. And then Tyler Thompson goes 8th to 3rd. Meanwhile, he did go to the back after he spun out. So quite a run for Tyler Thompson. Your Randall Roofing 360s took off last night for yet another good run. Good runs for Giles and Tasker and Sawyer in the first heat race. And then Terry McCarl and Tony Rost had a battle in heat number 2. Dustin Selvage dominated heat number 3. Kade, you were watching heat race number 2. That's when we could tell we had a different track surface because they were just slipping and sliding. There were times when Tony would try to cut it back down and dime in the corner, and it just wasn't working. And Terry, for the second week in a row, I mean, the guy knows how to hold guys off. And I know Tony was getting frustrated, but boy, what a battle it was.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same thing we were just talking about Kinder. It's a lot of Terry having more laps around there, and he's been really, really, really fast before. And, like you said, he definitely knows how to hold cars off and make charges when he does get past. But, I had a front row seat to that one, and I kept thinking, I'm like, man, if these guys keep dicing it up, I'll have a shot to get there. But they didn't really slow down at all when they were doing that. So definitely props to them for keeping their speed up while they're sliding each other and chopping and doing all the fun stuff.
was there even really a lane, do you think you could have gone? Because it seemed like it was a 2-lane at that point. Do you think the track had worn in enough that you could have done something, or was it just wait on a mistake and hope something happens?
It was really wait on a mistake. And honestly, like I was thinking as they were doing that, if I did catch them, I was like, I don't know where I'm going to go because every lap there's a car in each lane. So I was definitely going to have to get creative and try to find a way around, but the opportunity never arose. So I just, yeah, it was cool to watch that, and definitely some really, really close quarters racing.
Let's talk about the track a little bit. You know, you guys feel it when you're down the pits, and I kind of walked out last night, and Josh, you can attest to this. There wasn't a lot of humidity. It was a really nice night, like a really nice night for racing, but that changes the track. And I guess this kind of leads into the A little bit for the 410 feature, but you had a really slicked off 360 feature, which was phenomenal. I think that was what the 410s would have wanted for their feature, but the 360s got the best track. And then Kade, a rarity, but we saw a thin line of rubber work its way around the second lane in turns 1 and 2, which just does not happen. So talk about what the track did last night. It obviously it got up to the fence, but you had that little lane there. And talk about how last night was so different than what we've seen before at Knoxville.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it was really weird. Like at the start of the 305 race, it was just juiced up, drive wherever you want to, and then they had a stop in the race, and it was like the track flipped as soon as that happened, and that was what like Kinder found the top and got around Moffitt. But yeah, just super weird. Like we thought the track was going to stay pretty well, and like you said, the low humidity, it just went kind of hammer down to holy crap, this thing slicked off to the boards with a curb. And it was really fun to run. Like you said, the 410 guys definitely are wishing that they had our 360 track for their A.
Was turn 2 as sketchy as it looked?
Probably sketchier.
Oh my gosh, people were swatting flies over there by the Brian Clausen Sweet Tower.
And it goes to show too, because I don't think that there was rubber in 3 and 4, right? At least from what I saw. So it just goes to show how different the tracks or each end of the track can be too, because you have the 3 and 4, which is pretty shaded usually, just the way the fencing is. But then that turns 1 and 2 just bake, all day, all night. And with the wind and the low humidity, I know Brad that helps with the track prep was talking about how you can't do a whole lot of it because like we were talking about a little bit ago, it was pretty hammered down early on, and it was wet out there. They had to bring the push trucks out a little extra early in the night. And I can't remember if it was Reitzel or who said it in the past, probably many guys, but if you can get a track that lays rubber with a handful of laps at the end of the last feature, you probably had a pretty damn good track. So can't really complain a whole lot about it.
Well, and what gets me is I think we were lucky. We had no B mains last night. Imagine if we had a B main. I mean, then the 360 probably would have rubbered up. And then,
may need to rework at that point.
The track. Yeah, then we maybe would have reworked the track. And last night was good. We got done by 10 o'clock because of those no B mains. But all I can say is that if any race fan is watching or watched last night and was for some reason discouraged because of what they saw in the final laps, next week won't look like that. I mean, that's just a given. The Duncans don't let that happen very often. I know it was kind of out of their control last night, but that won't happen again. We also didn't get rain all week. Like we didn't get any rain. And this week, I think they're going to get a little bit more rain. At least I think it's expected in the Knoxville area on Thursday and whatnot. But different track state, man. That's what I love about dirt racing. I mean, you're just not going to get the same track every single night.
Exactly.
Every guy has his own, what you like. And when I was talking to Tony Ross, he's like, man, I love last night. He's like, we need that track surface every night. And then you'll talk to some guys and they're like, no, do not go back to that. So fun night of racing. Garner jumped out to a decent lead. I thought for sure we were going to see deja vu of 2022 when he went back to back in the second and third races of the season. But then he caught lap traffic. And Kade, you talked about it, but on a slick track, not only are you having troubles going around the racetrack, but so is all those lap cars who are top, bottom. It seemed like a lot of the night, most were staying down to the bottom. And then he caught his son, Cole Garner, who was running the top, and Clint just could not get around him. Kade, is it tracks slick? Obviously a tough one, but dirty air? Was dirty air a factor last night? Because it was also very dusty. I know dirty air is a little bit different, but last night's about as dusty as it gets in Knoxville.
Yeah, it was super dusty. Really hard to see, honestly, a lot of the time. But, yeah, I don't know. I think Cole just kind of was running his line and didn't really don't think he really did anything stupid to hinder Clint's ability to pass him, but he was just kind of was in the lane that Clint was running, and that was the first car that he encountered that was up there. And I know some of the ones that I was racing around, it was like some of them were just all over the place, and it's hard to pass them and not stuff it in the fence at the same time. And I know there was a couple times I threw some pretty big bombs on lap cars just because you don't really have a choice. Like when it's run the top or get passed by 4 cars that you're racing for position, you kind of just gotta kind of be a little bit mean and just kind of put them away. And it definitely makes it hairy, especially when you're sliding guys for position too at the same time. So you got to kind of pick and choose your battles, and definitely makes it interesting.
Yeah. Tasker is the one that took advantage because the lanes kind of opened up for him. They caught those 3 lap cars, and I said on the broadcast, I said, whoever gets through this is going to win the race. And no fear, Tasker did exactly what Tasker does, and he ripped around the top of the racetrack. Now, I will say he got around him the first time. I was stunned Garner went to the bottom because Garner was running well, and even before he caught lap traffic, he goes low in 1 and 2, and I think I said on the broadcast, I was like, why is he going down there? Like there was nothing down there that had shown that. And then, he kind of gets it back going, and Tasker rips around the top. It was such a cool move in turns 1 and 2, and Tasker runs away with it. And Tasker talked about it in the finish in Victory Lane. Like his team gives him all the freedom. They just want to see him win races. So Tasker drives like he just wants to win races, Kade. And that's what won Tasker last night. He had no fear, and that car's fast. I mean, it is very fast, but he goes 6th to 1st. I mean, that's not a lot of people do that in a 360, and he gets the win.
Yeah, that was straight up just not really caring, and it's good that his car owners allow him to just drive like that, because if you see a conservative Tasker, it's not going to be as much fun to watch, and we all love watching Tasker. Yeah, we love watching Tasker rip the fence and definitely put it up on the edge. He's like a Hodenshield. If he's not up around the fence and putting it right on the fine line, it's not really all that fun to watch. But I started right behind Tasker, and he just got a killer start, and I didn't really have anything to do behind him. He just kind of drove away and made his own lane, and kind of did the same thing with Clint. Like Clint was sliding up to the top, and Tasker just kept his foot in it and made it around him. And definitely that is what won him the race, was just I don't really know the polite way to put it, but it was
I said he looked like the Tasmanian devil out there.
Yeah.
Spinning around in the dust. And that's awesome. And then his brother Sawyer, out of nowhere, stole second from Clint. Clint was still trying to get around Cole in lap traffic, and Sawyer comes in and takes second. Tasker posted on social media, he's like, I didn't even realize that's a good Mother's Day gift. So that's really cool for the Sawyer brothers to go 1-2. Kade, you talked about your night. Caution could have helped you out a little bit, but obviously feature ran caution free. Is that right?
Yeah.
Good job, guys, especially after last week. That's exactly what we want to see. So congrats to the field. Tasker goes 6th to 1st. And then how about this guy, Timothy Smith, man? +9, 22nd to 13th. Apparently he got DNQ'd for his qualifying. Must have been light or something. I didn't hear it on the scales. So he had to start last in his heat race. He goes +3 or +4 in his heat race. And then he starts 22nd, goes all the way to 13th. The time's coming, man. I was talking to his team earlier in the night. He's like, I just want to qualify better. And unfortunately for him, he qualified. And then not bad, but just a little bit more. But boy, Timmy's making a name for himself here the first couple of weeks.
He's looked really good. Yeah. And like you said, I didn't catch that qualifying deal either. I was a little surprised at why he was so far in the back. But yeah, main thing, keeping it clean. You don't get any better if you're not turning laps. So when you're not tearing stuff up, you're learning every time you're out there. And he's shown really good speed passing cars. Jack Anderson has also shown that. We'll get to it in the 410 too. Start taking those lessons from starting deep and running in the middle of the craziness. When you get up front, it might make it a little easier, Kade, when you don't have quite as many cars to pass. What'd you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And Timmy's doing a hell of a job finishing races, like you said. It's not easy to do, especially when you start back in the swarm and the hornet's nest. But yeah, he's passing cars and definitely making a name for himself.
I can't confirm he will be back for our Knoxville Knights Racing League. He did tell me that his pedals, the way that they do, he can't. They're like stuck at 90% throttle the whole time, so he can't run 360 or 305s because he can't slow down enough. So he will be back for the 410s.
That's not good for the field because he's too good.
No, he is very good. All right, let's jump to our 410s. Austin McCarl was nearly in the 14-second bracket, which, again, pretty crazy for how warm it was, but no humidity helps. Almost a 10th faster than Kerry Madsen. Chris Martin, man, he's got a little bit of speed. It was qualifying in P4. As I'm watching Husitz here, I think Chris is in the feature. He wasn't in the B. They're doing their draw right now. But good speed early out of Austin McCarl. Needed it after the heartbreak that was the other night at Lakeside. We'll talk about that in a second. But Kade, probably going to be maybe down low 15s for maybe one more week, you think, at Knoxville, and then we start seeing lap times kind of slow down here?
I don't know. It's all up to the Duncans, and they seem to throw us for a pretty good loop and keep us on our toes. So I guess we'll have to wait until next weekend to figure that out.
Yeah. Good run for qualifying. Just overall, it was a fun qualifying session to watch. Tasker, Carson McCarl, and Linton Jeffrey all lost engines in qualifying last night. Linton didn't have a backup. Linton brought out the silver top wing. It was the big topic of conversation at Pennsylvania for Williams Grove. 5 cars brought it out. And I think Linton, while his first lap wasn't bad, and then obviously it let go. Linton didn't have a backup motor, and then Carson McCarl did, and then obviously Tasker did. So tough break for Linton Jeffrey. Heat number 1, pretty run-of-the-mill. Carson went 9th to 6th after that engine change. Tasker was really fast, and 9th to 5th, and then Kerry went 6th to 2nd. Kade, these heat races are so important because of those points. That's what everybody wants to see, and I think we talked about it last week, maybe with Scott Boguski, Josh, but we want to see passing. Like, we don't want to just see the guy who sat quick time, starts first in his heat, and he just drives away. Make him work for it. And I think that's what we see, especially last night. We know if you got a fast car tonight, if you can pass cars.
Agreed. And I know that drivers don't necessarily like inverts. Not all of them, I should say. But do have to remember that this is for the fans too, and you do want to have an entertaining product. So as long as it's safe and makes sense, I think that from an invert perspective, I like what Knoxville does because it does mix things up. If you get the fast guys, maybe in the second, maybe third row, you have to pass cars, and like that's what everybody. It's racing. It's not follow the leader. So we had another good set of heat races this week, and I don't think we should really expect anything different rest of the season, really.
Absolutely. Heat race number 3 was a blast. Cole Meitzer was the CEO of Department of Defense against Riley Goodnow. That thing was crazy. They were just swapping lines. I can't remember who was in third, but he was like right there the whole time. And a side-by-side battle off of turn number 4. Riley Goodnow got the victory. It's just good racing. I mean, that was when the track was really starting to make its good part of the night. I think that was right when you found it. And good run for Riley, good run for Cole Meitzer. So good to see those. And you just never know what you're going to get with heat race, man. We've had good heat races this year, like better than I think we've seen in past. Do you enjoy heat races, Kade? I mean, obviously, it depends on where you start and where you finish, but is heat racing still fun to you?
Oh, it's a blast, and it's honestly more stressful than feature racing, I think, because if you start, like if you qualify in the top 3, you start 6th in the heat race, and you gotta try to find a way to make it through there. And sometimes the cars that are on the front row are not, they're newer guys, or they don't have a lot of laps, or maybe their engines don't run that well, and that, like, no matter what, they just don't qualify that great. Yeah, no matter what, they just don't qualify that great. And some of them guys can race really good too. I mean, you saw it in that third heat last night. It definitely makes it interesting, and I love heat races. It's always something different every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian Brown grabs his 67th career win at the Knoxville Raceway and 410 competition. I think easily set up. They knew they were starting on the front row, so Brownie said, give me the setup for the front row. He knew the track was going to be top dominant, which as of late, when Brownie wins, that's usually the track that it is, and that's where Brownie accelerates. It does well. Emerson Axsom brings it home second. When he caught the rubber, he was like the first one to really catch the rubber in turn 1 and 2. Oh my gosh, I think he gained 30 miles an hour. That was unbelievable to watch. we had that late caution, and the whole process was, does Brownie know? Like, did Brownie see the rubber down there? And he sure enough did. But like I said, Kade, last night fit right into Brian Brown's wheelhouse. That track is exactly what Brian wants to see. The last time he won here with the Outlaws, he did it in that exact same fashion. He destroyed the field running the top. And that's the Brian Brown that we expect to see.
Yeah, I knew once he started up front and I got off the racetrack and it was hammered down, just run the fence as hard as you possibly could. I knew Brown was going to be good. Axum kind of surprised me by finding the rubber before anybody else did. Like he was a good 2 or 3 laps before everybody else. And I think had that late race yellow not come out and allowed Brown to kind of snoop it out under yellow, I think things would have went a little bit different.
I wish Emerson ran full-time points. I think he would be legit to have a chance at a championship, because man, he is still young and he's so good every single track he goes to. And it was good to see him back at Knoxville, and I hope he keeps coming back here for the next couple weeks. But Brian Brown takes care of business and grabs his 67th career win. Good run for him. Good run for Sawyer Phillips late in the going there. Austin McCarl, throw him out there for a second. So he was running second, good speed out of the 88, hoping for another good night hoping for a good night after what happened at Lakeside on Friday night with a shock, I think he said. But Kade, the wing came apart, which you just don't see that very often. The right side of the wing came apart. It was flapping in the wind, and then it tucked itself underneath, and then it just came right off. And the debris caution came out, and because of the rules at Knoxville, we were talking to John McCoy while it happened, despite him causing the caution, he did not have to go back. He stayed where he was. If there was a long red, he could have changed the top wing and came back. But Austin finishes 9th with a broken side panel, Kade. And Connor Ferguson had a great reporting, did a great video with Austin. Austin said he just took off into the corner, and you don't know what it's going to do, but you sure hope it turns.
Yeah, that's 100% right. A lot of us don't ever have to run without the right sideboard. So, and I know he had said that he had never done that before either. So it's definitely kind of a hopeless feeling as you drive into the corner wide open, especially in a 410 up against the fence, and you just go in there and send it.
He said the wind hit him like crazy when it opened.
I was going to say, and he wouldn't have been able to do that if it was the other side on the left one, because we saw a couple years ago when Gage Polkerbeck lost that at Nationals. It was a big time one. Yeah, what do we think, Blake? You can comment if you'd like.
So my whole thing,
the way it played out,
precaution. Yeah, my whole thing is, I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like it wasn't hindering him, but yes, the wing caused the caution. But is it his fault? Is it his fault the wing came apart? Like, Kade, maybe you can chime in on this. Is it how the wing's built? Is it how they, change a couple things in the wing here and there? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I don't really have an opinion about it, but, do you think that he should have gone to the back after causing the debris caution? Obviously, John said, we asked him, we're like, does he have to change this? He's like, oh, he can run it. I mean, if he wants to try it, he can. But what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's really, I mean, with the rule setup they have for that, it's up to Austin on if he wants to bust his ass or not. And he decided to stay out and made it through the rest of the feature, which was good for him. Definitely, like he said, you have no idea what it's going to do when you drive in there, and he ended up making it through there and made it through the rest of the race. But as far as going back on the yellow, that's not really up to the 88 or anybody else. It's up to the rules, and that's what the rules state, is that he gets to keep his spot, and it's up to him if he comes in and fixes it or not.
Yeah, the rules are the rules for sure. I don't know if I like that, and I can understand, I think, where they're probably coming from, because if you have something like that, it's obvious that it was him. But if you have a piece of debris that is a black sheet metal and you have 10 like other black cars out there, you're never going to be able to tell who it is. So I don't know if it's probably an easy way to just avoid any judgment calls or anything like that, to then, think that there's some impropriety. But it does feel a little bit different when you can tell for sure that it was a guy that brought out a yellow, because I don't know. At the end of the day, he did a hell of a job staying in second or third or whatever for like a good 8-9 laps before he really started fading. That was really impressive in my opinion.
He was everywhere, man. He was like, he was on the bottom, he was on the top. You could tell he was swatting flies.
Yeah, he's probably hoping that is the one and only time he ever has to run without the right sideboard. But yeah, it was impressive nonetheless.
And as of right now, he will be starting on the pole for this Houston State feature. So he did draw the ace. So we'll be excited to see what Austin can do there. I think he's still leading the points. Let's see. I have it pulled up. No, he is not. Brian Brown is now leading the points by 24. So that's crazy. So just a 9th place run for McCarl. That's how easy it can flip. And, man, I hope Brownie stays and runs the whole season, or tries to stay consistent with the points, because I think you're going to have a Reitzel McCarl thing from last year where it was just tooth and nail down to the very end. So,
like everybody from 3rd to 10th, everybody from 3rd to 10th probably hopes that they go and check out the Outlaws or the High Limit or something a couple different times, because it's tight after that. But I agree. I think it's probably going to come down to those two if it plays out.
Kerry Madsen's 180 back. Scott Boguski 190. JJ Hickel 238. Caleb Johnson 288. Shout out Caleb Johnson, man. Really good runs here the last couple weeks. Carson McCarl, Chris Martin, Sawyer Phillips, and Linton Jeffrey round out your top 10. Tough break, obviously, for Linton Jeffrey last night. Carson McCarl goes 23rd to 8th. Good speed out of Carson. Obviously, after that engine change, needed a run like that to stay here in the top 10. Landon Crawley, good to see him back at Knoxville with Johnny Herrera, 19th to 11th. And Jack Anderson, happy 18th birthday, 21st to 13th. Again, Jack goes forward. I think Jack he needs that qualifying a little bit better and a little bit better of a heat race. But Kade, he sets himself up well. Jack could be rolling here.
Yeah, absolutely. They get qualifying a little bit better. And I think like talking to Jack, it's a lot of just kind of like the setup differences between the 360 and the 410 that are keeping them from qualifying good. The motor runs plenty good from what I understand. So give him a couple more weeks to work on it and get him qualifying good, and we'll have a whole different Jack Anderson to be talking about, I think.
It'll be cool. It'll be cool when that 10 car is back out there, because I know there's a lot of people that have been around a few years at Knoxville. It'd be kind of cool seeing an Anderson and a Higday battling it out again, just a little bit younger.
That'd be awesome. All right, let's go to our outside of Knoxville recap. Busy week. A lot of racing going on. This month is very busy. High Limit Midweek Series got rained out at 81 Speedway. The Gettysburg Clash at Lincoln Speedway was supposed to run Tuesday. They moved it back to Wednesday. Buddy Kofoid fends off Chase Dietz. Good run for the PA posse. Kofoid leads all 35 laps. Anthony Macri rounded out the podium. They rained out Friday for Williams Grove, so they moved on to Saturday. Anthony Macri held off Donnie Schatz. Another good run for Donnie Schatz, starting to string a couple together here. And Anthony Macri scores PA Posse their back-to-back wins in the Morgan Cup. Kade, it's a whole different animal out there in Pennsylvania. I mean, that is, some consider the heart of sprint car racing. You see names you just don't see. They don't come this way. They are all out there. And overall, PA Posse held their own. And Anthony Macri, man, I mean, I wish he would go on tour, because I think he could legit be one of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about PA is they don't really have to leave, because they can race 3 nights a week and only travel like 4 hours from home. Yeah. So everybody talks about them staying on the porch, and I really, as a driver and a team owner myself, I understand why they don't leave.
Yeah. Good to see Donnie running again, Josh. Makes my heart happy.
Like I said a couple weeks ago, when Don is running well and running up front, it's great for sprint car racing.
David Gravel
right in the world.
Yeah, all is right in the world. The point battle, unfortunately, is really starting to gap. Logan Schuchart and Carson Macedo had a very bad wreck together. They got caught up, no fault of their own. TJ Stutz spun and just kind of got caught up with Macedo and Schuchart, so now Gravel's point lead is well into the 100s, and the dude has had 32 straight top 10s. That is unbelievable by David Gravel. And think about it. I mean, he's gone to Eldora, he's gone to Knoxville, he's gone to these tracks that cannot be kind to you, and then he goes and does that. Doesn't want to use up all his luck. We've seen it run out at the Nationals a couple times, but really good run for David Gravel. Probably one of the bigger topics of the week. High Limit was at Lakeside Speedway. Kerry Madsen and Austin McCarl start on the front row, and I'm like, yes, this is what we want. We're going to see a Knoxville 1-2. And then in the span of one lap, Austin McCarl broke a shock, and Kerry Madsen was in the middle. Rico Aber was on the bottom, and Rico and Kerry Madsen collided, and big wreck. Took out the top 4. Took out Brad Sweet. Kyle Larson drilled, I think, Brad Sweet or Kerry, one of the two. And it ended all their nights. Brad Sweet, I think, DNF. There was a lot of talk on Twitter about that. Oh, when's the last time Brad Sweet DNF? But Kade, what do you think? Racing deal? Did Rico force the issue? Rico did apologize. It was a muted celebration of victory lane. He said he was sorry to Tony Vermeer and Kerry Madsen. What happened, man? Racing deal?
It's hard to say. Rico definitely pushed the issue a little bit too aggressively, I think, and he said the same thing. Madsen was kind of doing like a wide entry to get off the corner a little bit better, and he was going that way, and he had been doing that for several laps, so Rico kind of knew what Kerry was doing, and I don't know if Kerry just got a better run than Rico expected getting down the straightaway, but Rico was like that. They were wheel to wheel, so it was hard to say. It wasn't really anybody's fault. It was just kind of circumstantial, and
I can't believe Rico didn't flip.
I can't either, and I can't believe that Madman wasn't hurt after Larson had nowhere to go and just drilled him right in the top of the cage. That was scary, and I really expected Kerry to have a little bit of a fiery interview, and he just kind of let it rest.
We were texting about it, right after it happened, and I don't remember who said it, but Rico basically said it the exact same way at the end of the night. Like, he just got himself in a bad spot. I think it was a little generous to say that Kerry was in the middle, Blake, but I think he was pretty much on the bottom, and Rico was going to run the bottom too on that lap, and probably realized a little too late that I can't run the bottom without just wiping out Kerry. And yeah, you could tell as soon as he didn't go up top, in victory lane, that he was probably feeling kind of like an a-hole there. And so props to him. Props to him for owning up. Whether you mean it or not, we only one person knows that. I don't have any reason to question Rico, but it's good to see guys owning up to their mistakes. That's how you get better.
Yeah. That's 4 straight weeks Rico Abreu has won a race in a touring series. So really hot start for Rico Abreu. Him and Larson, obviously top favorites to win the Nationals here later this year. And yeah, tough ride for both those guys. Chris Martin made the feature in that race. Really cool to see that. So Ayrton Gennetten will talk about that race when we talk to him in a little bit. So fun little night there at Lakeside. And then on Saturday night, they went to Tri-City Speedway in Illinois. Corey Day picks up his second win of the season in just 5 starts. I wish that dude would just race dirt. I'm hope maybe, he's probably enjoying asphalt, but man, I just wish he stayed on dirt, because I think he could win a championship. He'll win a lot. I think he, despite not racing a lot, will be a favorite for the Nationals if he's able to run and doesn't have NASCAR commitments. He holds off Brad Sweet and Justin Peck, Tanner Thorson, and them for a win. Good to see the 14 running well, and good run for Justin Peck as well, who's had a kind of up and down start to the season. So,
had a couple of back-to-back podiums, was it? I think for Peck, right?
I think close.
I saw that.
Might be. So they're starting to figure things out, and just kind of headed everywhere. So they are going to be, I think they're staying around, or they're going to Kokomo next. So Kokomo next, good run for them. And then I think they head up to New York. The Outlaws are in Canada this week, so make sure to tune in on Wednesday and Thursday at Oswego. So, boy, that's fun. I bet that's fun getting all that stuff across. Can you imagine Kade trying to get all that stuff across the border?
No way.
What's cool?
Pretty cool looking. Pretty cool track too.
I'm excited because I think you're going to see a lot of guys we don't usually see. I mean, I don't know. I know Canadian sprint car racing is big, but there's a lot of guys we don't hear about, and they don't go down to Pennsylvania or something like that. So really cool. I was watching Skagit last night, which is free on YouTube, by the way. I caught Skagit when I was getting home, and there's like 3 guys from Alaska. I'm like, Alaska? I was like, yeah, sprint cars up there in Alaska. So that's pretty cool. Trey Starks got the victory in that one. Congrats to him. And Robbie Price is running well over at Skagit. So, all right, boys, that's our Outside of Knoxville recap. Before we get to our interview with Ayrton Gennetten, we got Blake's trivia for the boys. Thanks for coming out. We didn't get anyone to submit any questions. So if you want to, seriously, submit questions to us. Try to give us some trivia. This one, I got to keep digging deep. I got Eric Arnold's stat sheet, and I'm just rolling through it. So 7 drivers have won all 3 classes at the Knoxville Raceway. But according to the stat sheet, Josh, I know your face. According to the stat sheet that Eric Arnold has, only 1 driver has won a pro sprint race in a 360, but not a 410 race. Unfortunately, our friend Kade here is not on that list because of last summer, but only 1 driver has done it. This is according to Eric's list. So take it as you will. But according to the official Knoxville stat list, only one driver has won a 305 and a 360 race and not a 410 race. Who is that driver?
Is it Jamie?
That was my guess also.
It is Joe Beaver.
Joe Beaver. When did I don't remember Jamie winning a 410 race, but I guess I am wrong.
I don't think Jamie won a 410 race. But that's the stat list, man.
Well,
if we have any issues with the stat list, we can talk to Eric Arnold. It's not my fault. Don't shoot the messenger.
I'm sending an angry email.
The past 2 weeks.
But I can tell you right now, the list is short. I mean, Kade, you win the 360 race. Boom. You're one of just a couple. So same with Tyler Gronendijk and a couple other guys. So really cool to see. But I got to start digging deep, boys. There's a couple. I don't know. We're going to have to go to some. We might not even do Knoxville trivia next week. We might do something based on food or something. I don't know.
We need help. Help Blake out. Give us some comments.
Somebody help me. We
need on
trivia.
YouTube, Spotify, wherever. We got them all over the place. Come on.
All righty, boys. Well, we had a chat with Ayrton Gennetten of the POWRi champion and a Knoxville winner, a Huset's winner, a Tulsa shootout winner. Plenty of questions for Ayrton Gennetten. We hear about his time with the derecho, which is a crazy story that you probably wouldn't even expect. Ayrton Gennetten joins us here on the Knoxville Knights podcast. Ayrton Gennetten coming off back-to-back POWRi titles in the POWRi series. He's a winner at the Knoxville Raceway, a winner at several tracks here around the Midwest. Ayrton, thank you so much for joining us here this week. And usually, because we interview all these drivers, they're coming right off racing. And you are coming off a very busy week where you didn't get a lot of sleep, but you did a lot of racing. Let's recap what you did this week. Then we'll talk about your first Knoxville race here this season back on May 3rd. So what'd you do this week? You were out with High Limit and a lot of stuff in between.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be a typical race weekend. So we ran Friday at Lakeside and didn't do great, but had a respectable speed and just kind of struggled a little bit in the heat race, which has kind of like honestly been the worst part of our season so far. We've actually been qualifying better on the big stuff, which is something I did struggle with last year. But so I think we got our qualifying down. Just need to work on our heat race, then we ran good in the feature. But yeah, Friday night after we left the races, we got stuck at a truck stop in Cameron, Missouri, and yeah, we were there from about I want to say like 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. trying to work on the truck to get it running, and finally we actually ended up, what happened, we didn't actually fix the problem, but we went to sleep and took like a 30-45 minute nap, and the problem fixed itself enough to where we could go somewhere, but we couldn't shut the truck off or it would re-kick the limp mode. So we just went ahead and decided to come home, and that started the chaos of when we were at the truck stop broke down, we weren't going to race. And then when we got home, I'm like, we're racing. And then my dad was like, okay, well, I'm going to take a nap. So my dad slept the whole day. But yeah, we ended up washing everything, getting some maintenance done, switching our trucks out. And then we went to Granite City to go race last night. And we actually didn't have any trailer brakes the whole way there because we had a wiring issue on the truck we replaced our truck with. So we actually had my dad who went home. He got another truck. And then we ended up having 3 trucks to our trailer in less than 12 hours to make 2 races. So it was a very eventful night, a very eventful weekend that I hope I never have to repeat again. I think I had like an hour and a half of sleep and like 43 or 44 some hours. It was definitely not ideal.
And to give people an idea, where's your shop located?
So we're in Knob Noster, Missouri. It's kind of like on Highway 50, just south of 70, probably about 10-15 minutes. So we're kind of close to Sedalia and Warrensburg, right in between those 2 areas. So it's about a 4-hour and 15-minute trek to Knoxville, and it was about 3 hours to Granite City. So it just kind of like made sense for us to go to Granite City, knowing there's only one class, and they were going to want to get the show through. So it kind of give us a better chance of getting home earlier and just getting to sleep and making it a little bit easier on us to, be in better position for, on the way home. Because when you're that tired, you don't want anything to happen. So,
and it's been a long 8 days since then, but we're the Knoxville Knights podcast, and you did come to Knoxville on May 3rd, feature run of 9th. Your first time here at Knoxville this season, and said you're going to try to make it back a couple more times, but good start to the season at, arguably a bigger track where motor depends a lot. And are you happy with where that set you out on May 3rd?
Yeah, I feel like realistically we had a lot better car. And I honestly think if I would have done my job in the heat race and got us a couple spots like I should have, I think we would have probably ended up in the invert on the front row with, where Elias and Brown was. And I feel like, if I think at the end of that race we had a lot of speed. Like we were really good at the end of that race. And I definitely feel like we can contend for a win, which is something I haven't been able to do at Knoxville the last 2 seasons. But yeah, I mean, we're going to be back there this weekend, and we're going to try to come at least every week or every other week. It just kind of depends on the POWRi stuff. But Knoxville's a beast of its own, and I feel like we're getting our qualifying figured out there, and that's one of the most important parts of the night at a place like that. So yeah, I was happy with the night. The start of the feature didn't go the way I wanted. I think we ended up falling back to like 16th. Just kind of had a bunch of chaos around us, and we passed cars. I say I race like I used to sometimes, and not that I'm old enough to say like I race like I used to, but there's every now and then there's times you feel like you're not driving as hard or whatever, and there's times you feel like you're like worried too much about what the car's doing or what you should have done to the car, which for Kade gets that. There's times you're on the track, you're like, oh, I did not put the right setup in, and you're kind of worried about that, and so just driving. And so I think I've kind of gotten back to just driving, and that's kind of helped me a lot. And I think really last week at Knoxville it kind of felt that way again. So getting back in that rhythm there at Knoxville is huge, because then you're just focused on hitting your marks and just running your race and not worrying about what the car's doing. So yeah, I'm excited to come back to Knoxville next week. Hopefully, I think I'm gonna have a couple more long nights, because I think we're gonna run in Wisconsin on Friday. So we're gonna truck 8 hours north and then 5 hours back south. So I guess we don't like sleep. That's all I figured out in the last 2 nights.
Geez. So to touch on something you said there, setup wise, sometimes you can have a little maybe second guesses or something kind of distracting you. When you have truck issues like that, or if you are questioning the setup, what do you do anything specifically to kind of like reset to focus back on just like you said, driving the car, or how difficult is something like that to kind of lock back in?
Yeah, like that, it gets tough. I mean, like there's on a typical night, I'm not a very I'm very indecisive. I can, like, for example, we were racing with the All Stars a couple years ago, and I think we ran the dash. We started first in the dash and ran eighth. Like ran eighth by a long. Like we were bad. We were really bad. We should have been in the B main with the way our dash went. And I think we changed torsion bars 6 times after the dash before the feature. So whenever I'm like kind of got this my mind going and pondering a setup, it's like, okay, let's do this now. And then I'll be done with it. And I'll go look at the track and be like, okay, wait, let's redo this and do this. So sometimes for me, it's actually better to kind of get my mind off of it. Like, for instance, like Granite City with like the truck issue, like sometimes I'm just like, you know what, let's leave the car alone. Let's just adjust the shocks, do minimal stuff, stagger air pressure, wing, whatever you can do. Let's just do minimal stuff and do this for a night. And sometimes it's better that way, because you're not just changing your whole program or changing the balance of the car, which can be big sometimes. But yeah, that stuff plays in a lot. I mean, when you're tired, there's, the less work, the better for you or your guys. You don't want to do too much. And then when people are tired, you don't want to make a mistake that can just cost you more in the end. So all that stuff goes into it a lot. I can definitely tell you Saturday night at Granite City, there was a lot of that going into decision makings. We were doing the basics. That was it. We were just racing.
Makes sense. Kade, you want the next one?
Yeah, I'll take it. You got your first win at Knoxville or on championship night of 2022. I know what it means. Kind of explain to other people what that right-hand turn at Knoxville means to a driver.
Which is so crazy about that night was they weren't going to let me go into victory lane, because that was like, it was like rain was coming. So they were like, oh, we need to get rolling. And I was like coming off the scale, and I was like, I don't care if the gate's open or not. Like this car's going right, so they better open it up. We're gonna plow through it. And Chad was there. That's when Chad Morgan was my crew chief. He made him open the gate, and I think the security guard who was holding the gate was so confused because the track was telling him no. We were yelling at him yes. So we went in there. There was like no one was prepared for what I was doing. And I don't think there's any photographers or nothing over there yet. They all didn't think it was gonna be victory lane. So it was. I mean, it's something like I don't know. I feel like everyone dreams of doing something, and like whether you dream of being an outlaw or dreaming of being at Knoxville, like you always want to be somewhere, but there's one place everybody wants to win at least once in their life, and it's Knoxville. And to do it, and that night and the fashion we did it was really special. It was one of them deals where I had a really rough nationals. We hadn't won a race yet at that point in the year, which when you roll into August and you haven't won, it's kind of demoralizing. You want to be winning all the season. So yeah, it was just a really special night because I think the week before that, me and my dad were like, we're done. We're tired of this. We're over this. Like, we're just done. So we weren't even like, we were like just checked out. Like, it was just at a bad time with everything going on with the team, and like our dynamic was off. So it was just, it was really the perfect situation for us to get that win. But there's literally just no explaining how special it is to turn right there. And on a night like that, there was a really, really good field of cars. So it just made it that much more special to know we passed these guys to win this race, and, to win the race and even be part of a small piece of, Chad Morgan's deal where, he's like Brown mentioned last night, that was Chad's 50th win in Knoxville. And he's got 49 of those with Brown, but one with me. Well, not a lot of people, clearly, not saying anything bad with Chad, but Chad's obviously a really great crew chief, but he hasn't worked with a lot of people other than Brown. So, it's kind of cool to be a small piece of that, where there's some guys who, would probably love to have Chad Morgan work on their car at Knoxville. I was an honor to have him drive, work for us and me to drive him for the Fishers and, do a deal like that. And, yeah, I'm rambling on right now, but the win in Knoxville was so special. I honestly watch that video at least once every 2 or 3 months. It's just cool to see it and relive it. It's something you'll never forget, and probably the biggest win of my career so far.
Is that something that you do go back to, like if you're in a down period? It's like, yeah, I can do this, and like I need to get back to this spot.
Yeah, I mean, Kade can attest to it. There's times when you struggle, it's like you got to have something to bring you up. So you just go back and you try to find, positive, whether it's, a good run the week before, or, a win from a couple of years ago, or a night maybe you didn't win, but you drove really good. You just got to get your mind reset. And sometimes it's best to just see yourself knowing that you can do it. And yeah, just being able to reset your mind and knowing that you're still that person is big.
Another first that you grabbed, 2023, you picked up your first ever Huset's win in 2023 in the Kroll 14. Beat Tim Kading, Austin McCarl, Chase Randall, Brooke Tatton, all those guys who have been very good there. What was that like winning at Huset's? Because Huset's, it seems hard to win at Huset's. I mean, the champion last year didn't even win at Huset's.
Yeah, that was actually one thing I was really just talking to my girlfriend about probably like 20 minutes ago as Houston was turning on. Racing with that group of people, I think meant more than the win itself. You're racing with a small team. They have one car, one motor. You got great sponsors that are part of their deal. It's a great family, or like just a family team. And every time I would get out of the car, whether I stepped on it or, ran good, Judd and Greg and Blaine, they always appreciated me. They always told me how much they appreciated me, told me how, no matter, there would be nights I'd be like, man, I sucked. Like, dude, we love you. You did great. I'm like, oh, I feel special. They just made you feel part of the family. And that was like probably the coolest part about that win. Like, you can go back and see if you watch the victory lane there. It wasn't like, it was more about them than me, honestly. If the way I look at it that was more like a win for them. I think that was the first time they won at Houston in a 410 since like 1995 or something. I can't remember the date they told me, but it was around the time I was born. So to do it like that, and and then I think what made that so special was the week before we were so close. I mean, we were like one lap away, one good corner away from getting the win. So to be that close and miss it and then come back and win, it was just so special for them and their family, and obviously for me, and being on Father's Day, it was really special. Just anyone who's gonna win on Father's Day will tell you it's special, but to win at Houston's on Father's Day, and that weekend was another hectic weekend with no sleep. We ran I-70 Friday, Lake Ozark Saturday, one in my car on Saturday at Lake Ozark. I drove 9 hours from Lake Ozark to Houston to go race. And I remember I stayed at a hotel and the lady gave me a discount because I was checking in at 5 a.m. And I stayed at a hotel room with one like sheet of pillow. It was like this thick, and that's where I slept and showed up to Houston's. And yeah, it was just a crazy night. I mean, I think those nights when you do something good on nights like that, it just means so much more. And then obviously winning at Houston's is huge. And then, the guys you do it with is obviously, the most important part. So I think doing it with those guys was probably the most special part of that win. And, racing with them, I think they kind of, like you said earlier, you racing resets you sometimes. And that was one of them deals where it felt like there was never any pressure. Um, you weren't expected to go out there and win every night or you're going to get yelled at. They just appreciated you driving their car. They appreciated you giving 100%. And every time you come off the racetrack, you could tell they valued you and valued how you assessed the night. And it was just honestly one of the most fun experiences I've had driving a race car. And so, yeah, I mean, it just is so special.
I've said a lot. The people are what really like the racing's cool, but the relationships and the people that you meet throughout your journey and
Yeah.
racing and stuff is really even better.
Yeah. I still talk to Judd, um, literally every day almost. We talk all the time. So, um, yeah, they're a great family, absolutely amazing family. And yeah, I mean, it was probably one of the most fun experiences I've had driving for somebody else.
It's awesome. So we're kind of going down some really successful times with you here. So we'll keep it rolling. It's early here in the POWRi 410 Outlaw Sprint League. You're tied with Joe B. Miller in the points right now, but you've won the last two titles, so that's pretty sweet. Tell us a little bit about those last two seasons and what you had to do to kind of put that run together and what you're planning to do to make it a trifecta here this year.
Yeah, I think the first year we did it, we kind of didn't have any. Actually, in 23, we intended to run the full Knoxville deal, and um, we were at the Outlaw Weekend at Knoxville, and they were down in Tulsa, Oklahoma racing, and they got rained out both nights, and it kind of set it up to where we could run the full points deal for them. So that made it to a situation where we could go down and race with those guys, and it was one of them deals where like it was just about at that point we were behind because we'd already missed one race, so we were behind Joe B, we were hiding Roger Crockett and all those guys for the points deal, and we kind of was like, you know what, let's just go race with these guys. We're behind, so it doesn't matter. We're just racing for wins. We're here to only win these races. That's it. That's our goal. Is just to win. So we kind of were just there to go win races, and luckily, I think there was a couple nights where Joe B had a bad night, and we were able to, win a race, or he was able to have a bad night. We were able to run in the top three or something and put us in position to where we could, at the end of the year, be like, okay, well, actually, we're going to win this deal now. So that was pretty cool just because it was one of them deals where we were behind and you just kind of didn't plan on it. It just happened, it just happened by just running good and producing results and not worrying about points. And then last year, me and Blake and Donnie were running the full thing. And, we were pretty tight with Blake there, especially early in the year. Cause I think the first night we ran like 14th. Like we had to go to the work area before the race started. It was a bad night the first night we ran. And, so it was one of them deals. We started off kind of the eight ball, and the only thing we focused on was just winning races. So, that kind of makes it to where when you're just focused on winning, you're not worried about points as much, and you're only focused on doing one thing. So it makes it actually easier, I feel like, to race for points like that. Like in the position I'm in now where it's like we're tied. I'm like, oh my God, why are we tied? Like I feel like I'd rather be behind like 50 points right now and just start focus on winning these races because it's something where winning will take care of the championship itself, so But I'm actually surprised we're tied because we went to Creek County 2 weeks ago or whatever, and I was like, "This is not my track, man. Like, we're just here to survive. Like, this is not a place I'm gonna run good at." So, yeah, I feel like the deal there this year. I feel like there's a lot of opportunities to win races and stuff like at Lake Ozark and Sedalia, Wheatland, Lakeside. Got a lot of tracks close to home that are going to be tracks I'm going to be good at. So, our main thing there is just to focus on doing what we did the last 2 years and just focus on winning races. And, the only thing I think that really changes, knowing about, you know, the position you're in, if you're leading points is versus being behind is if you're running fourth or fifth, you'll just settle. Where if you're behind, you're going for it the whole time. So, I'm not going to say I'm going to settle, but there may be some nights where you kind of have that in the back of your mind. But yeah, we're just going to focus on winning races, and hopefully, if we do our job night in, night out, we win our races and do our work in the shop and have everything prepared. That's going to take care of itself.
So we kind of talked about a couple of ups from 22 and 23, but stat wise, it was kind of a roller coaster. 24 was actually stat wise one of your best years since 21. Did it feel like that? And if it did, kind of explain. I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier, but kind of explain what got you back up as far as just getting back in the grind and doing a little bit better.
Yeah, I feel like 21 was like just such an amazing year. I mean, you look at the results we had. We ran on the podium with the All Stars at Eldora. We ran on the podium with the All Stars at Sedalia. We were, in contention to win the World of Outlaw race at Devil's Bowl. We ran up front with the Outlaws at Eldora my first time there. So, like obviously, like coming off a high like that, your expectations are so far up. And everyone's so excited. You got all these big plans, and then, I feel like for me, the kind of person I am, that's all great, but I do this because I love it. Like I obviously want to make a living in racing. I want to go drive. Everybody wants to go drive for, the biggest team and go win the most races and win this stuff. But for me, like I gotta feel like it's like I just gotta feel like it's not that. Like it's like my mentality kind of situation I am like when I run the best, it's because I am in my happiest mood. I'm in the best mood. And in 22, it was one of them deals where we just never were producing at the start of the year. And I think the early season like downs kind of just set it down so far because you go from almost winning a World of Outlaw race to literally being in the back every night and not even making the show some nights. And it's just demoralizing. You get knocked down. And that was kind of, it was one of the things like all season. Like we would be in contention to win a race and something would happen, or, would be just anything would happen. Like, I mean, I think there was like 3 or 4 times that year we were leading a race and something either happened to us where I made a mistake or the car, we ran out of fuel and just didn't capitalize on stuff and you just get knocked down. And yeah, like 22, 23, like 23, I think was just more me finding kind of my place is what I was taking on. That was the first year I'd done it all as my own crew chief. So that was kind of a lot. And then 24, I think we just kind of got balanced the whole season. We had some places we went to that were kind of oddball for us that we raced with the Outlaws that kind of put us equal with everybody. And our cars were good on tracks like that. So we had a lot of really good runs last year. We had top tens with both national series and, we won the points still. We won 5 races. I had a good opportunity to win some pretty decent races too. And yeah, it was just last year was definitely the best year I think since 21, but 22 and 23, I was just there was so much going on. I mean, I was driving like I think I drove like 4 or 5 different cars and just I was like there was one week and I was slowly like talking about this too. I was like I think I ran like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I ran 5 nights in a row for 3 different teams across like 4 states. I was like, what am I doing, man? I'm just like, I got done with nationals that year and I was like, I gotta just reset. So I think just having a scenery in 24, just being with my own deal only and focusing on my own stuff kind of just let me be more relaxed and not taking on as much. And that just kind of, was what gave us more consistent and better results. We still had struggles last year, but I think from, the last couple of seasons to now. I think this year we're kind of setting ourselves up to be pretty good, for a long-term season. We have had struggles already this year, which you're going to run into that every year. Everyone's going to have issues, but I'm hoping we get our issues out of the way quick, because I think we can have a good year this year if we can kind of get rolling.
That's awesome. Talk about, we'll shift back to how you got started a little bit. Your family, deep ties in racing, your grandpa, your dad. Kind of talk about that chain and how it's kind of moved its way down in racing throughout your family.
Yeah, my dad and my grandpa obviously are very well known in racing. My dad, he's won a USAC midget feature. He's won at Knoxville. He's won a lot in the Midwest. My grandpa did a lot of midget stuff, did a lot of sprint car stuff. Won a bunch of races, raced all over the country, raced in Australia, New Zealand, and stuff like that. So, obviously it's one of them deals where when your family's so deeply tied into it, I mean, you can say you have a choice, but you don't really have a choice. You're a racer. When you're born, you're a race car driver. I mean, my dad gave me the name Ayrton. So, I mean, if I didn't race, it would be kind of disappointing, but so you're set. You're just, when your bloodline is like that, that's all you ever think about. That's all you ever know. Like, I don't know anything other than racing. Like, I've never wanted to know anything other than racing. So it's really special to be a third generation race car driver, especially with the careers my dad and my grandpa had, both finding a lot of success and running well at a lot of events and a lot of races and stuff like that. So it makes it really unique to be a third generation racer. Not a lot of people have that right now. Maybe, when their kids start racing, they'll, have that, but to be that is super special, and it's one of them things where they have a lot of ties to a lot of really cool old school people in racing that have a really long, rich history in the sport. So, like my dad, like he drove for Keith and Rusty Coons back in the day. My grandpa was the first guy to ever win in the Tulsa Expo Center in a midget. He won the preliminary at the first ever Chili Bowl. And we were just talking like last night. All three of us have won at Granite City, but all three of us won at Granite City on different configured racetracks.
Huh.
So I've won on the current configuration. My dad won on the old half mile. My grandpa won on the quarter mile and a midget.
That's cool.
So we all three have won, a couple places. Like we've all three won at Sedalia. We've all three won at Grant City. I don't know if there's any more, but we were talking about that too the other night. But it's really special because there's so much. I don't know. It's like there's so many cool things. It's just so special. Like Kade gets that with his dad, and Ryan gets that with his grandpa and his dad. It's something like you can't explain it. I mean, it's just so unique. And, the way my grandpa was, he engineered so many different stuff. He built his own cars, he built his own motors. And, my dad, he was so heavily involved with that. And then my dad did all his own racing. And, luckily my dad, we actually got to race each other for the first time ever competing against each other last year at I-70. So that was kind of cool to see my dad run a 410 last year. And he was pretty quick. I mean, he actually out hot lapped me. And
that's our next question. When's Beaver getting back out there? Is he getting back out there this year?
Hopefully he gets to go. I think I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea, but he wants to go to Port Royal with Crown Car. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't think that's the one we need to go to, but he's definitely I think he's gonna try to run both the miles with the Silver Crown stuff. And I think that's even cooler to me, man. I like watching him race. Like I'm more excited about him racing sometimes than I am myself. Like that night at I-70, I was like, dude, this is so cool. Like my dad's getting ready to race a 410. Like this is awesome. Like he ran 410s a long time ago, but 410 now is a lot different than they used to be, So it's cool just to keep that up. And you can look at it too. There's not a lot of guys that retire for 20 years and then get out of retirement and be like, all right, let's go run a Silver Crown car at 410. And he doesn't lift. I mean, he don't lift. Like he was on it. Like that Crown car, he was on it. He did a good job. So I'm excited to kind of hopefully he gets racing and see how he progresses the next year or two and see if he keeps going for a little bit longer.
Hell yeah.
So we all around here kind of know about the crazy Midwest weather. Let's talk about in 2020 when your trailer flipped on its side.
Yeah, that was the experience. That one was so. This is also goes back to my dad. This is like it's so ironic because like it's not my dad's fault. Like this is not my dad's fault by any means. I'm not gonna blame my dad. Like before I even tell the story, this is not my dad's fault. But it is my dad's fault at the same time. So we went and washed that morning, and we're staying at the Clotwikes. So they're just north of town on 92 or whatever way that is. Not north, it's west. Yeah, west of town on
Yep.
92. And so we wash. And this is my story. My story is a lot different than anyone else's. I go
This is the
inside, we get done
derecho, by the way.
washing.
For those that
Yeah,
don't know, this
yeah.
is the derecho in
20,
2020.
So we get done washing, we unload everything. I'm like, I'm gonna go rinse off, I'm gonna take a shower real quick. I was, wet from washing the car. At this point, like it's a clear day, like it's a beautiful day at this point. There's nothing wrong with the sky, nothing. I get done washing and or not washing, but taking a shower. And where I showered at was like in the basement. There's like no windows or anything, so you can't really see, what's going on outside. So I get done taking a shower and walking outside. I'm like, man, it's cold. And I literally walk by the truck and trailer on its side. Like I don't even notice it. Like it's like
Oh my
not like
God.
not a big deal to me. I'm just like, I don't like, wow, that looks kind of odd. Like don't even like recognize that it's on the side. I'm just like, well, what's going on? I go inside. I'm like, where's my dad? Why isn't he in the shop? Like, what's going on? It's windier than heck. They're like, oh man, dude, I can't leave the trailer on one side. I'm like, wait, hold up. So I go back outside. I'm like, what did you guys do? I was like, how did he do this? Was he like turning like how would you flip a trailer in a in a parking lot? And yeah, well, I guess so when the storm started, he pulled the truck forward from away from the building. When he pulled it up, and he kind of like went like this to their yards, like the yard, like kind of like say this is like the building here, and the yard goes like this. He pulls it to here. Well, the way the hills were, it went over the valley and then picked up, and it caught the trailer. So I always tell my dad, I'm like, dude, if you just would have left the trailer where it was at, it would have been fine, But it was so ironic because it's like poof, just on its side. They said like it just tipped over and it just stayed like on its side like this, and then just sat down. So it didn't even hurt the trailer. It just kind of like honestly just messed up the really like the driver's side of the truck a little bit. Like it didn't really even do as much damage as you would think. I mean, there was a little bit of damage to the trailer, but nothing insane. And yeah, it was the most crazy sequence of events because then goes to okay, well, we got stuff in the trailer. We actually need to get out before it flips back over because that could actually be bad. So we go in the trailer and we're like getting all these parts out of these cabinets, like the rear ends and front end. Well, okay, let's not say rear ends and front. There was like one of each. There's not a lot in there, just some wheels and tires. We don't have any of the other cool stuff in there. Like, at that time, we didn't have no spare car. We didn't have no spare motors. Whatever we showed up with, we raced with. And Sawyer Phillips actually like we're in the trailer like standing on the cabins, and Sawyer Phillips jumps in there and starts helping me. And I was like, "Who the heck is this guy?" I don't think I've never seen Sawyer in person, but maybe once before this. And Sawyer was like down there helping us, and it was a crazy deal. Sawyer probably got a funny story out of that too, because I think my dad was like threatening to fire me. He's like, "We're done racing. I'm over this." Like this
Jeez.
was also the same conversation he had with me at the truck stop. He's like, "We're done racing." He gets all wound up, and he's like, "We're done. I'm done." I'm like, "Okay, whatever. I'll talk to you in like 30 minutes about the racing." But yeah, it was such a crazy turn of events because it's like for me, it's like they actually saw it tip over. Like they watched it all happen. I'm
And you were in
like
the
okay,
shower.
I was in the shower. I was like,
You
what did you
missed
guys
the
do?
2020
I
derecho
missed,
because you were in the
I
shower.
missed, yeah, I missed the whole thing. Like I didn't even know what happened. I came out, I
Hey,
was
you're
like,
in the
Unbelievable.
basement. You're
oh, it's
being
wow.
safe.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't even know any of that happened. Like I had no idea. Like people were telling me about this. I'm like, what? But the funniest part was that later that night, we were at Dingus, and all these people were like, "Oh man, is your rig okay? Like, what about your spare motor, your spare car? Like, did it tear any of that up?" I'm like, "We don't got none of that. Like, we're good. Don't worry. Our spare motor and car's at home." So it was funny because it was just like so ironic because it was. I mean, it was a big deal for us. For us, it was like, "Oh my god!" Like, but like, thank God the car was out. Our wings didn't even get hurt in the stands. It actually like bent the wing like the flipper thing, like to hold the wing, and actually bent it, so it looked kind of cool. People thought we bought them like that, so we were like, "Yeah, man, we bought them like that." But it was kind of ironic. And yeah, we showed up to the one and only race with like no driver's side window in the truck, with just cardboard. My dad had to open the door to see, so that's how we parked. But yeah, it was a wild deal. I mean, it was so ironic in the way it happened, and that if he just sort of left the truck and trailer where it was, it wouldn't have happened. But I'm like, I'm glad he moved it, because there was a lot of good publicity for me, really. Like, I mean, it was the talk of the town. There was nothing else going on. Oski got rained out. Like, oh, well, this is the only thing that happened today. What happened over there? So,
Awesome.
yeah, it was a crazy deal.
Let's shift ahead to this year, 2025. Let's talk about your helmet contest. I have a favorite, at least from what I've seen in the photos. But boy, you're doing this helmet contest. Kind of explain that. You've had kids help design a helmet. You have finalists. When are we going to know the winner? And just kind of explain how that whole thing came about.
So I've had this idea in my head for probably a couple years, at least 2 years, I would say. And I just didn't know, like, with if it was gonna be the right time to do it when I was like a couple years ago or whatever. I was thought about doing it, and I was like, I was getting ready to do it actually once, and then I had a guy like offer to pay for my helmet and paint it himself. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just do that. And then this year, I had a helmet sitting that was just blank, and I wasn't even using it. I'm like, man, I need to get this thing painted or something. And I was like, you know what, like. I'm not like a memorabilia person of myself. Like, I don't keep my helmets. I don't keep my suits. I don't keep any of that stuff. Some of them guys, like if you ever go to Brown shop, Brown's got like 50 helmets on the wall, which I think that's awesome. But I just don't want my helmet. I don't need it. And once it's done for me. I got one helmet I like that I had painted, and I keep it, and that's it. That's the only helmet I'm ever probably gonna end up keeping. So I was like, let's do something different. Um, if you get it painted, you're gonna pay for the paint job anyways. And I was just like, you know what, let's just give back to some kids. So I just kind of just honestly whimmed it up on paper. I was like, okay, well, if we can have, say 50 kids do this, we should have a pretty good design somewhere. And even if we don't, whatever, it's still cool. So we just kind of whimmed it up and was like, all right, well, let's just see what happens. So we ended up getting like, I want to say like 90 to 100 entries.
Wow.
So there was some pretty good ones in there. There was some actually really, really good ones that still didn't even make my top five. Not because they weren't good enough, but because I wanted to try to give like five diverse answers, five diverse, different style designs. So I tried to just pick five that were, diverse but creative and unique, and then had a cool flair to them. So um, I don't know who won. My girlfriend does, and the guy who's painting the helmet does. That's about it. So
Awesome.
um, they're going to. I think he should have it done here in 2 to 3 weeks. He said he's going to just put it at the front of his line as soon as he gets it. He's painting it, so he's ready to get it done too. So that's awesome. That he's willing to just stop his work and do something like that. So we should have it soon. Um, and then the kids that all got in the top five, I'm gonna give all of them some free t-shirts and stuff like that. So just try to give back to them. And then I'm gonna, when I do get the helmet back, I'm gonna do like a Facebook Live thing and maybe draw five more names out of the helmet and give five more kids t-shirts. So
That's awesome.
just try to do something different, just to give back to the kids. Because like realistically, like, every weekend you see the crowd that races, like there's a lot of kids there, but those kids are eventually going to grow up. Well, we need them kids to stay in the sport. We don't need them to grow up and go do something different. So if we can do little things like that, like us race car drivers, to keep them kids wanting to stay around forever, and grow lifelong fans out of them. Um, I don't know if this is going to be a good, maybe may work, may not, but we'll at least keep a couple kids around, hopefully. And, I can do a small part to try to give back and, maybe grow a little bit of my fan base at the same time. So, I think it's a good thing for me. It's a good thing for the kids. And a lot of the stuff too is like I wanted to make sure it was all hand drawn. I didn't want no computer drawn or anything like that. I wanted to do it, with like water paint or marker, whatever you can use to color it. So that way, it also makes the kids use their imagination and be creative with it. So, and there was some kids that were really creative, and they had like, I mean, there was some kids that drew out like four different, complete different designs. I was like, this is awesome. Like, they loved this idea. And then I had kids from Australia, New Zealand, and Canada all send in stuff too. So it was really
That's really
cool to
cool.
see people from not just here in this region, send stuff in. And I think we had like, I want to say like 24 states, and then we had America, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia all do it too. So that was pretty cool.
So
And you're going
next
to
year
race it.
they design the car next year, right?
Well, I like my car plain, so it's going to be a very simple win. The one with the least amount of stuff may win that one. It took me a long, this is the first time I've ever had nothing. So like when we had the Fishers always wanted the wrap. Like not saying that it was a bad idea, but I'm just saying, like when I was doing stuff with them, that was like more their idea. Where like this is the first time I've ever had an idea to actually put lettering on a car. You can go look at my micro stuff, my sprint car stuff. It was just numbers and stickers. I was just like, I don't care. But this is the first year, like, you know what, let's do something. So, but yeah, I'm hoping that when I'm done with the helmet, the person who wins, I'm hoping that we can do something where maybe like I don't know when I'm gonna be done with it, but it's gonna be the end of a season eventually. Hopefully we can figure something out to where they can come to the shop and get it,
Mhm.
or I'm kind of in the area, maybe I can give it to them there, depending on where they're from. I like to do something like that where we can give it to them in person. It'd
That'd
be
be
a lot
cool.
more meaningful and special. So hopefully that can happen. Yeah, I think it's awesome. Like I love it. I think it's so cool. Like I like seeing the kids' designs. I like seeing their letters. Like a lot of them wrote letters too with it. So it was really cool to read all those. So yeah, I mean it too is just super cool because I had my nephews vote on it. So like I got my like 5-year-old and 9-year-old nephews voting too. So that was
That's
like kind
great.
of cool to see how they reacted to the helmets other kids drew. So yeah, I think I'm gonna probably try to do it again next year. I think I'm gonna drop the age limit down to 12 because I think the 13 and 14-year-olds were a little too good. They had some
Pretty
pretty good
good.
designs,
Pretty good.
but I think next year I'll probably do 12-year-old 12 and down, so that way it's a little more different group of designs. Maybe I don't know,
Yeah.
but some of them young kids, man, they had really really good helmets, and everyone had a really good helmet. Really, I mean it was cool, and I think we had a whole uh, kindergarten or preschool class from Knoxville do it.
Oh,
So that
sweet.
was kind of cool to see that the teacher got them involved with it, and she taught them a little bit about racing, she said. So that was really cool too.
Awesome.
All right. Well, let's. I guess we can start wrapping it up. Not take too much more of your time. We've kind of touched on your plans a little bit with POWRi. You're gonna finish out the season running with them, running for that three-peat. What other plans do you have? You're gonna run. Sounds like Knoxville quite a bit. You're gonna try to get up to Houston at all this year.
Yeah, I think we got a couple pretty busy weekends planned. Obviously we'll do the Nationals. We're gonna run majority of Knoxville. I mean, we'll probably, maybe miss a couple weekends here and there, but we're gonna be there most every week. We're gonna try to run a couple, or I think we're gonna try to go to like Q-Sits 2 or 3 times, Jackson 2 or 3 times, stuff like that. Do a little bit of maybe like do a couple 360 races. We'll just see if, what the schedule looks like there. But we'll definitely go up to Q-Sits. Hopefully, I think we're going to try to do a trip. We're going to go Knoxville on Saturday. This is another one of the weekends where we don't really like sleep. We're going to go Knoxville to Q-Sits, and then we're going to go from Q-Sits to the Routine race Tuesday in Wisconsin and race Wednesday with High Limit again. And then we're going to drive to Burlington on Thursday and stay in Burlington at my speed shop guy's place, Scott Boner. We're going to stay with him Thursday night. And then we're going to race Friday in Granite City and then Saturday in Paducah, Kentucky. And the whole day from Saturday to Saturday, it's 1 day and 13 hours of driving. So we're just not worried about sleep. So we may try to do we may try to do the Kings Royal, um, and stuff like that. But we're gonna try to run as much with the Outlaws and High Limit as we can when they're close, and focus on our program at Knoxville, and then trying to do stuff where we can find maybe a good Friday night or Sunday night show to go along with the Knoxville deal, and try to race as much as we can, and just get good laps. So even if as you develop your career, no matter how long you've been racing or, you know, how good you are, you're never gonna improve without more laps. So, the only thing you can do is just try to race as much as you can, go to as many tracks as you can, and just, keep trying to grow your program. So I think that's kind of what we're gonna focus on. And luckily for us, I got a lot of great sponsors behind us that keep us up and down the road. And yeah, and luckily my crew guys, for some reason, like me enough to go on all these crazy excursions we're going to make them do. I mean, like, if you want me to be honest, like, if some guy's like, yeah, we're going to go run Knoxville, Houston, then we're going to Wisconsin, then we're going to Illinois and Kentucky, I'd be like, what are you doing? And they're just like, I'm like, do you guys like racing? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, we're going. So here you go. It's our decision. We're going. So we're going to, hopefully the weather stays good for some trips like that. We can go do some stuff where people are like, why did you do that? I'll be like, well, it's good memories. So hopefully we can go make some memories this year.
Absolutely.
Ayrton, we appreciate your time. You're a true Midwestern outlaw. You race wherever you want, and we love your passion and whatnot. We appreciate you for joining us here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and look forward to seeing you guys Saturday night in Knoxville.
Sounds good, man. Thanks. Big thank you to Ayrton Gennetten. That was a really fun chat. Really good show all around, guys. It was fun. No more poop emojis in our outline for Kade. So hopefully we keep that streak going next week. Next up, though, boys, is round 4 already. It's crazy. We're already about a month into the season. Round 4 of the Knoxville Championship Series. It's coming up on Saturday the 17th. I say it every week. If you're close, get your butts to Knoxville. It's a great time. And if you can't make it for whatever reason, it's going to be live on Dirt Vision. I mentioned it earlier too. We do have videos on Spotify now, so you can watch us on Spotify or on YouTube. Just search for Knoxville Nights. We're also on all of your other podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, all the other ones. Then just follow us at Knoxville Nights on Instagram and Facebook. We're at Knoxville Nights with no O on X. And then I am at Josh_Gerlach. Kade's at Kade Higday. Blake is at Blake_Walker8. It's gonna do it. We're five shows in already, guys. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully we have plenty more. We have a lot of stuff to talk about here soon. Hopefully you guys hit subscribe, like this video, whatever, wherever you're watching, listening, and we will see you next week.
Share on Tinder, share everywhere.
Share it on Tinder. Tell yeah, get matches if they say they'll listen to Knoxville Nights. They're a good one. See you next week, everybody.